video part next.
Yes.
I don't know where we're at.
I don't either. But this is the next part to, this is discussing boundaries in your marriage, if you made it back in one piece.
Yeah, you may be limping and dragging an arm or something.
Yeah, if you chose to hit another video after that one, hit the play button. But this is a boundary.
After you have subscribed and hit the notification bell and then clicked all so that you know which ones we're getting.
Yes, do that. I forget to say that.
I didn't forget this time.
Forget to say that.
Subscribe. I was just trying to come up with something positive.
Hit the notification bell and hit all. Yes, please do. But this is the last one was on boundaries outside of the marriage. This is on boundaries inside the marriage. So I'm going to read an insert once again from the book, Marriage is Like Dancing, that we've talked about in the last couple of videos. So here we go. You ready?
Yep.
In ballroom dancing, the movement of experienced dancers is around the outside of the dance floor. The center of the dance floor is reserved for those not yet able to manage the open road. These insiders are expected to dance in the center where it is safe and they are less likely to cause an accident. Safety as well as enjoyment is planned. I did not feel safe the first time we undertook the move into the mainstream of traffic on the dance floor. Dancers faster and more skilled than we came rushing up behind us just as in rush hour traffic. If they were skilled and thoughtful, they would miss us. If not, they would nudge by, causing a minor fender bender, as if to say, "Move it, buddy," but nearly all were polite and apologetic. These same people seated at tables between dances were congenial and supportive of us as novices and recalled their own early years of learning to dance. Marriage can also be chaotic at times. Learning the rules of marriage early in life together can save the day later on. Mutually agreed upon rules that define the boundaries of a disagreement, such as, while arguing, neither of us will walk out on the other, or in disagreements, we will work at not attacking the other person but stay on the issue, or if the timing for dealing with the disagreement is not good, we will together set another time to discuss it. Marriage is not always rational, but choosing how and when to argue is something worth working toward. Rush hour traffic in the home need not always be chaotic. So that we were going to talk after reading that, we were going to talk about the boundaries inside the marriage. So I think
this is how you handle each other, not how you handle all the outside intrusion.
Right.
Okay.
One thing that I know that you used to do. I'm going to kind of throw you. I'm going to throw you on the bus.
I knew it was coming.
On this one.
I knew as soon as we got on this, it was, and this is in the chapter. It's the man's fault.
Yes, but one of the things that used to irk me so bad and just make me so mad. But when we got into an argument, any kind of disagreement at all, you would hightail it. Yeah. I mean, just like that. It didn't matter. It didn't matter where you went. It didn't matter if you got in your car and just drove away. It didn't matter if you walked outside for a minute. It didn't matter.
I didn't usually just drive away though. I usually like squalled tires and
yes,
all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
I was very immature.
Yes, and that was it was very hurtful. It was very hurtful to me because it made me feel like that, you know, the conversation that we were having didn't matter, because clearly it was something that I was upset about, because if it was something you were bringing to me, you wouldn't run out on it. So clearly it was something that I had brought up, and then you know, you would always leave. And so I like the fact of saying, while arguing, neither of us will walk out on the other. I think that is huge.
If you set that as a boundary, you're going to do one of two things. Both, really. You're going to be able to resolve some things, but the conversations are going to be more candid. Because then your partner knows, I can say this and he's not going anywhere. So she'll be more candid. He'll be more candid if he knows that the conversation is actually going to have traction and not.
I don't necessarily agree with, like we were talking about in a past video, if you were having problems to get in your car and go somewhere, take a trip, just you and your spouse, and get away. But one thing we did not include in that was saying the whole way up there in the car, well, they can't go anywhere in the car. They're stuck in the car. Just land blast them.
No,
I don't agree with
do
that. Some people do that. Some people will get you in a car to where they know you're going down the road, down the interstate at 70 miles an hour, and you can't jump out. Well, you probably could, but it would be very, very painful. But, you know, you're not going to jump out. So they think they've got you, and they trap you in that car.
That's weaponizing, though.
And
that's weaponizing.
Yes, that's
and
wrong.
you will see that's the only time you're going to have, so you better make good use of it. Because if you weaponize me like that, you're not getting me in that situation again.
No, and that's
because
that's
I'm
not
going to set a
good.
boundary.
So right,
I'm going to set a boundary, and I'm going to say, no, that ain't happening again.
Right.
So
that's not what we're saying.
No, our advice is to be cordial to each other just as though you would to someone else. And it's hard because we live with each other and it's personal, and you've attacked me personally. You've dealt with me this way or that way, and I'm vehemently upset about it. But usually, and women hold things a lot longer than men do, but usually 15, 20 minutes, you're at least calmed down enough physiologically. Your body has gone through the spike in adrenaline. It has gone through the cortisol overload that's going to come your way. There's a lot of chemicals that actually happen in the body when these fight or flight moments come up. If you're the type person like I was that couldn't handle that, your spouse needs to understand that, and y'all need to work through that physiological time period to where if it takes you 15 minutes to calm back down, 15 minutes you come back together. If it takes you, 6 or 7 days, that's really not an adequate period of time.
No, you need to work on that.
You're capitalizing on that. So be sure to understand that people are always people. And they've been studying these kinds of things for 100 years. They know how these chemicals work. They know how these reactions work. They know how all this stuff works. They've been, especially since 1945, they've been studying us like lab rats. They have all this stuff down to a science, literally. So we have lots and lots and lots of documented information on these kind of things. So you're going to go through these reactions. When something happens and somebody comes at you, your body does something. It really does. So women, if your man's going to spike and he's going to, do whatever he's going to do, give him the time. Lay it out there for him to be able to adjust to that and then talk about it.
And that brings me to my next point. You saying that I think that I have learned, and I'm in the maturity side, just maturing some, that before, if something bothered me, if you did something, I was trying to just think of an example, but if you did something...
I'm so glad you can't think of an example.
I probably could. I don't know, I was trying to think of something, but if you did
something... Pull out
something...
that notebook from 17 years ago and start rattling off all that stuff.
Yeah. If you did something that bothered me, I could not wait. I had to immediately... It did not matter... This is sad. This is really sad, and I shouldn't even admit this, but it did not matter if we were at our kid's birthday party. It didn't matter. It did not matter, and that was very immature of me. But I would have to say it right then, right there.
And ruin my day.
I would ruin everybody's day. But I would have to say exactly what was wrong with me at the time. Now I've learned that one of the things, one of the boundaries, I think, that's even part of, having boundaries in your marriage is if it's not the right time, don't bring it up. And be mature enough.
Wait until Sunday morning on the way to church.
No. Did I used to do that? Did I? Did I bring it up at Sunday morning going on the way to church?
We sure weren't singing hymns and praying together.
That's true. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, wait until Sunday morning on the way to church when you know he's going to be a hypocrite. Because you got him trapped. You're on the way to church. You're going to bring up something that's going to absolutely just throw him into a fit. And then you're going to get to point out even more weaponization because you're going to say, look, you're just a hypocrite. You're going to church.
Yeah, that was bad.
Sorry.
That. Yeah, that was.
Sorry. That happened.
Yeah, that happened. That was bad. Yeah, I was probably triggered at the moment when I would do some of those things. But
you could save it from Monday till Sunday.
Well, it may have been because certain things.
You remember what we talked about Monday? We're going to talk about it at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning on the way to church.
Maybe because the destination might have been a trigger. So I don't know. Maybe that was the reason I was talking about on the way to church. I don't know. But
because of my hypocrisy?
No. If we were having if there was issues if there were issues that maybe were maybe growing in my mind at the time, it's kind of hard to talk about some of these things.
Yeah, you don't want to spill the beans on too much of this.
No, but there was some other things involved in that, I'll just say. But you're right, though. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I should have picked a better time to bring something up, and it should not have been on the way to church on Sunday morning. And that's maturity. I was immature in that, and I should have been more mature. And if you can't hold your feelings aside, if you have to just burst out with your feelings as soon as something hits you, you really need to work on that.
And you need to work on regulating.
You need to work on regulating.
And there are books out there. There are counselors out there. There are people who specialize in regulation technique.
Yeah, you need to work on that, because you really need to, if something bothers you, you need to stop. You need to look around. You need to say, okay, we're at a birthday party. My kids are enjoying, it's so-and-so's birthday, and he's enjoying this. Why would I ruin all of our day because I'm upset about something? Even if it is something you should be upset about, even if it's justified. Just wait, and maybe at the end of the day when you both sit down and you're about to go to bed, before you go to bed, because if it's something you can't let go of.
You really don't want to let it fester.
Sit down and just in a very calm, and this is one thing that I wish we would have done before. I wish, and I could see us doing it now. We don't have a whole lot of arguments, just like, we really don't have a whole lot of just arguments and fights or anything, but I could see us now doing this, sitting down and saying, before we need to discuss something, before we do, would you say a short prayer for us before we start this conversation? I could really see us doing that. We do that with certain conversations, but I'm just saying, I don't know, we don't just fight a lot. We're not saying we're one of these couples that never fusses and argues and fights, because
we passionately discuss a number of things.
That's, not real. But that's a good idea, to just stop and say a prayer and wait till the end of the day, say a prayer with each other, and then
work on it. Work on yourself and the approach, just like you would if you were trying, for an example, if you needed to sweet talk somebody into babysitting a kid for you, you're not going to call them and just hammer them. You're gonna try to figure out the best way to ask. It's not a good time. They're busy. They have this or they have that. But you want to ask them, or maybe it's one of the kids and you need them to do a favor for you. And you, not that you're manipulating them. I'm not saying manipulation. I'm saying you want to ask in a way to where you can return the favor. So you're really trying to figure out what's the best way to handle a situation. Well, that really, in essence, is the relationship building that you're working on in your marriage. You have a difficult subject you need to broach, but you're not going to present it in such a way that harm comes from the introduction of the subject matter. You should still be able to make it through whatever the talk is before you even get to the discussion. You can't be throwing out hand grenades and setting off mortars in just bringing it up.
Mm-hmm. And also, before you bring it up, really do some self-reflection, like we've talking about. Just self-reflecting in this area too. Start just thinking, okay, what could is this something that he really did that was his fault? Is this something that was my fault? Is this something that I could have done different? Is this something that I'm just, festering up in my head that is causing a problem with me that's not necessarily a problem in and of itself? It's my problem. You need to think about all those things before you even bring it up. So that gives you time if you wait and you don't immediately pounce on the problem. And I was very bad at that. If you don't give yourself time and think about this and pray about it before you even bring it up to your spouse, then it's a possibility that you were wrong. And like we talked about,
there's a bald eagle.
Where?
Right there flying across it.
I see it. I wonder if we could.
No, it's not a bald eagle. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I wonder if we could turn that around and see it.
That may be a bald eagle.
Just landed on the top of that tree. But anyway, can you think of any other boundaries inside besides the marriage, besides running off, not running off, picking the right time to have an argument if you need to have one in your marriage?
Yeah, I can think of a good one.
What's some like inside your marriage?
At the end of the day, whatever the discussion is going to be that you guys are dreading having, or that you've set aside a time that we're going to talk about this. We're going to go to Texas Roadhouse. We're going to sit down. We're going to sit across from each other, and we're actually going to discuss this in a civilized manner. At the end of the day, it was important. It was something you needed to talk about. At the end of the month, you may not even remember it. At the end of the year, I promise you're going to have other things that took priority or precedent over that problem at some point. In several years, you're not even going to remember that you guys had a problem with that. So handle it in such a way that when you look down the road, the way you handled it was not the problem you remember.
Right.
That to me is where we are now to where we weren't then, because she has literally said to me, we used to talk in circles and we would stay up all night long hammering out a subject, whatever it was. And if she's not willing to make amends and I'm not willing to make amends, you're just sitting there talking in circles, and you're arguing in circles, and you're fighting in circles, and then you're frustrating in circles, and then you're everything is just it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. At the end of the year, at the end of a couple of years, you're not even going to remember what that was, but you're going to remember if you didn't handle it right. You're going to remember, just like I did a few minutes ago, bring it up on the way to church. See, I remembered that. I don't remember what it was that we were talking about. I just remember how we handled it.
Yeah.
So.
And I just thought about something when you said it was important. Do you remember when we, not long after we first got back together, you would say something that I thought was pretty profound. You would say, if you say it, if it's an issue, if you say it, even if you have a problem, even if it's not my problem, it is my problem because it's your problem.
Well, especially,
you remember that whole conversation,
yes,
about even if you don't, I'm going to listen because you.
Let me get historical a minute.
Yeah.
Long ago, once upon a time in a story long, long ago, there was a wife that just admitted that she didn't handle some things correctly.
We're going to write a book, by the way.
Are we?
Yes, one day we're going to write a book. You knew that. Don't act like that. Go ahead. Continue.
Long ago in this story I'm telling,
mm-hmm.
there was animosity on both sides. Her animosity toward me was usually my bonehead decisions. My animosity toward her was how she came at me or how we handled it. So now the woman that I see, she doesn't bring up stuff like that. She doesn't harbor that. She doesn't hold that axe on me to grind so hard now like she used to do. So when she speaks, it's got validity. It's got weight. It's got, hold up, dude. If she's saying this to you, then it's so important to her. It's important enough for her to make it an issue. Because if she's saying it, and this is where wives, like we talked about in one of those early on videos, you kind of have to dial the communication back a little bit sometimes. Husbands, we need to advance toward the communication line. If you're a wife that constantly is on your man,
it's like crying wolf.
He develops a callus to that. And that callus says to him, only when she escalates to a certain point does it break through the callus. Mm-hmm. So, if the women were not so on the man, mm-hmm. that when you speak, like now, I'm giving you real life, raw example of what we're saying. When she says something now, I stop and take notice because she hasn't done that a lot. And when she does bring it up, she sees something. She feels something. She noticed something maybe you didn't notice, or she's trying to caution you on something that's going on. Now, my attention is to when she speaks. And there used to be an old TV commercial back when I was a kid that was about E.F. Hutton. And if you don't know who E.F. Hutton is, you're a pup. You're a little one. You don't know. E.F. Hutton, the old commercial was, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everyone listens. And I guess he was like an investor or something, and maybe he made the best investment decisions or whatever. But I don't even remember what it was about. But E.F. Hutton, when he speaks, everybody listens. That's kind of where I'm at today. If Kelly says something, I know I need to stop and listen, because she doesn't hammer me. She doesn't come at me. She's not going for the jugular. So, those are kind of some moves that if you start to make those moves, like we've talked about in a number of these other areas, if you will start to change your behavior, the other person's behavior will also change. They will pay attention to the things that you're doing and take note of it. So if it's something that's vitally important, be able to communicate it. But if it's something that you need to work on, maybe you have a problem. We have a book. We haven't gotten to it yet. I noticed the title of it yesterday when we were in the office. The title of it, as it's standing in our bookshelf, says, "Maybe it's you." Maybe it's you. Maybe some of the things that are wrong in your marriage is your fault. And if it is, learn how to accommodate that to not be your fault. And the only way it's not going to be your fault is not by pushing it off on him or her. It's not by saying, well, my faults are your faults. It's by addressing your inadequacies. Realizing that, hey, some of these things may be my fault. They're one of you's fault. I mean, if you've got a problem in your marriage, it could be your upbringing. Yeah, it could be. It could be your training. It could be what you've been taught. It could be that you haven't been taught enough. It could have been that you were taught something incorrectly. Yeah, okay, so that's all on your background. But it could be that you just view things differently and your view's wrong. Maybe you think your husband ought to get up every morning and do, certain chores and certain things, and if he doesn't do it, you're going to make sure he doesn't do anything else the rest of the day. I don't know. I don't know how to harmonize all that stuff in your marriage, but maybe it's me. I mean, we really need to look at that possibility too and listen to your spouse. But if your spouse is constantly nagging you, you're not going to want to hear anything they got to say. I know that for a fact. We've lived that. This is me stopping talking. I talk too much.
No, you don't. But you should have some boundaries inside of your marriage also. We talked about outside of your marriage. You should have your boundaries inside of your marriage, and they may be different than ours. But you should definitely have some boundaries inside of your marriage. And hopefully we helped maybe a few suggestions with those boundaries.
You helped get a conversation started, I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah.
With the last one.
Definitely with that last video.
And that last video, you may have lost your 22 subscribers. Whew, the notification bell just got undone.
Oh, well. We wanted to be real. We wanted to be raw. And it is what it is. It's our life. It's our experiences. This is totally off of our experiences, our past experiences. Like he was talking about listening to me, a lot of the reasons why he started listening to me now is because he didn't listen to me before.
And I see that what she was saying was right.
And a lot of
along.
things were true that he didn't see
way.
Because there's just certain things that women see that men don't see, and there's certain things
that is the truth.
It just is. Sometimes I guess there's some men out there that may be more intuitive than their wives, but most of the time. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
And the men just don't see things the same because they're not focused. Just like earlier, we had to stop a video. Do you know why we had to stop a video? Because he was watching two trucks pull their boats up. Were they at the same time? No. One just backed down and got their boat, and then the other one pulled up and they backed down and got their boat. And
I was trying to help them get their boat on the ramp from here.
It was like this man mind kicked in, this man mentality. I could see it right all over his face.
To be honest with you,
and
I was waiting to see if he was going to put that Skeeter boat in the back of that Ram truck, or if it was just going to stay on the trailer.
And see, that's why, that's the difference in men and women. That's one of the biggest differences in men and women.
It's what?
Because
that we can't think?
It's not that you can't, not that you're not a deep thinker, because you get into all of this history and biblical and spiritual and history stuff, and you get so deep in it, a lot deeper than I could ever get into it. So it's not that you can't. I'm not saying that men are just
we just can't
dumb.
Can't think and think at the same time.
But it's like when something it's just small attention span sometimes, and when something like a truck and a boat pull up, there's no. I mean, you just can't compete with that.
I mean, who wants to do a marriage video when there's a truck pulling a boat out of the water over there?
Just like
I mean, what happens if a
bald eagle goes by? Look at that bald eagle. So it is, and so I think you need to listen to your wives, because you just think different, and you need to know how each one of you thinks, and you need to compliment each other. And I think that's good. Okay.
Like the last 3 minutes of this video complimenting me on my
I complimented you.
female abilities.
No, I complimented you a lot.
You did?
Hmm.
Okay.
He says, when and how?
No, let me give you guys some marital advice. Go outside. Get in your car. Drive somewhere to a very beautiful environment. Let's see if I can turn this thing around. Here's what you guys gonna see.
Hear the thunder.
You hear the thunder. Drive to a beautiful environment like this. Something like this.
It's beautiful.
Get you a tripod. $5 at a yard sale. Order the parts off of eBay to hold your wife's phone. Turn that joker on and sit in front of it. And just start talking to each other.
Well, we did mention that. The thunder's picking up here. We actually did mention that this is more for us than it is for anybody else. So
we're just inviting you along with the train wreck.
If this doesn't go anywhere, doesn't do anything, not that that's not what we want it to. We want to help people. We want to help marriages, but it's also good for us because we're going to sit and do this anyway. We're going to sit and talk and discuss anyway. So this is just an opportunity for us to do it and on the camera and to possibly be able to help somebody else.
And if you would like to hear something, if you would like to discuss something, leave a comment. We have a website, marriagemedics.com. You can go on there and you can shoot us an email. You can call us. You can whatever you need to do if you need some help in some area of your life, or you just want to hear a video on something else. We're not beyond being tasked with a little something to do to try to help people. All right. So I'm not saying that we want to, take requests all day long and we don't do what we do. But if you have something that's pressing in your life and we can help you with it, I mean, we'll donate some of our time to trying to help, whatever's going on in your life. We want to survive it, but we don't just want to survive it. We want our lives to thrive. And
we want to help people. We want to help influence people.
Jesus said, John 10:10, that he came that we might have life. And certainly, that was what Jesus did. He provided for us spiritual life. But then he says, he came to provide life and that you may have it more abundantly. So there's more to what God has in store for us than survival. He wants us to be happy. That's what the Beatitudes are about in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5-7. He wants us to be fortunate. That's what that word means. It's not just happy like hey, you know, we got a smile on our face. It means fortunate. It means benefited, like to where your life is something joyous. And that's what we're trying to do with each other, is to live an abundant life, to live a happy life, a joyous life. But in the process of living your life, if you've been blessed, you should try to bless. And you should try to help somebody else. You should try to uplift somebody else. You should try to encourage somebody else. And in reality, is that not what the Christian life is supposed to be? It's supposed to be you taking care of yourself first, because the scriptures say, save yourself from this untoward generation. So we understand that we have the responsibility to take care of self first, but then we also have the opportunity to do for others and to help others and to, you know, see to the others' needs that maybe they're less fortunate, maybe whatever it is, maybe they're just in a bad spot. And at a time in our life to where we should have called upon somebody to help us, we chose not to. We chose not to. And it hurt us. I mean, it hurt us. It hurt our family. It hurt us personally. It hurt our work. It hurt. Man, it hurt. So all we're asking you to do is just seek a little help. Seek a little advice. Don't go it all alone. Try to let somebody help you up if you're down. Have you noticed you just nod at every video at the end? You just nod. You're just like, everything he said.
What do you want me to do? Interrupt you at every word? No, I'm not doing that.